Luther.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you involved with or responsible for the fandom websites? The solar?
No, not really. I help Tom Sponheim and Paul Hedrick, who are kind of the key people to manage it.
Uh-huh.
Tom actually created it way back before Wiki was a thing.
Uh-huh.
He worked for Microsoft, early 1990s. Set up basically an archive because he said there's no one place we can find out about solar cooking.
It's so thorough.
Oh man,
It's so helpful.
Yes, and then he said, well, geez, there's this Wiki thing, and they were able to just transport all of it over there, and the rest is history, literally.
I would really be interested in seeing if they would be interested in expanding that website to include evaporative coolers.
They have
You know
all
about
sorts of
evaporative coolers?
yeah, and they do have occasional kind of ancillary topics that.
Oh, do they?
in there.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, if it's especially if it's connected with like with you
Solar.
doing solar cooking and whatever else.
Solar
you're doing,
refrigeration, yeah.
Yeah.
Solar cooling, yeah. Because there's a number of products that have tried to come out since the Zerpot was invented like in the 90s.
Sure.
And none of them have been able to. There is a one. It's a more elaborate clay box that is. It's not for sale anywhere. You can't get it here, but it's like in India and being distributed to local people there. But it's it only boasts like a 12. Again, the same as the Zerpot, a 12 to 15 degree lower temperature than the ambient temperature, outside temperature.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen my videos, but I've invented a coarse wool evaporative, coarse wool felt evaporative cooler, and it's like hands down, it cools below the 12 to 15 degree ambient temperature. It's like more like 20 to 30 degrees. It almost doubles the Zerpot sufficiency, and it can be used in more humid areas. Because of its efficiency, and it's lightweight and more portable.
Sure.
Like I just got done making a felted wool pack box for my Ram, so that it'll have possessions on one side and a kitchen on the other.
Oh, nice.
Like a refrigerator on the other.
Yeah.
And so I just I'm having trouble getting this idea out there when I know it's gold. You know, I mean, like there's nothing else and there's a whole industry of wasted coarse wool.
Yeah.
That could also dovetail into purpose with that and help small farmers. So maybe I'll try to if you're not the person to talk to, I'll get those names, or I'll remember go back and try to look those people up on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, and when you come into solarcooking.org or the fandom, solarcooking.fandom.com, I think they should be listed at the top or somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I really appreciate your videos are awesome and super insightful. I've watched probably 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
Over I've watched them before you even contacted me, and then I just watched another one. Went back to your channel after you contacted me. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, good morning from it's not Ashland. This is Talent.
Outside Ashland.
Yeah, the Ashland, Talent, Oregon area, and I'm here with Aaron Fletcher. Home free.
1, 2, 3 home free.
1, 2, 3 home free.
Yeah, because home free is by definition meaning getting past the problems, getting past a problem. And in this case, I am trying to expand the meaning or heighten the meaning to getting past the problem, which is unsustainability. And community sufficiency. I don't think that self-sufficiency is an actual possibility anymore. You need a community, at least a small community. So the idea is that a lot of other words have been bastardized or made pointless by overuse, like the word green and eco and stuff like that. And sacred words, and home free is like one of the last words that I feel like we really need to hold on and not let people just haphazardly apply it to everything, because and the other thing is that a lot of people like to use ceiling terms that actually limit their ability to progress, like the term woke, or something like that, or enlightened, or something like that. It's like the idea of being home free is a distant goal for all of us, and we shouldn't be saying that we're home free, because then it blocks off the knowledge of that need for progress.
Sure.
So
Sure.
so 1, 2, 3 home free.
Great. And now I usually do the 3 questions, and they're all very open-ended. The first one is, how did you run into the whole idea of solar energy for your living off the grid, being as independent as possible, and then how did that lead to solar cooking? And talk about the solar cookers that you have too. So where did it all start?
I don't know how it started, no when it started, but I just got started getting the idea that that society isn't as stable as a lot of people assume, and so maybe we should diversify our ability to subsist
Sure.
after dependence on it, or after it collapses, and so obviously solar is, these batteries, these darn batteries. I mean, they not only have memory problems and unsustainability problems, but like I'm having problems right now just because I unplugged it and plugged the solar panel into a wrong plug on it.
Yep.
And then I was like, I woke up yesterday morning and my fridge was dead, and I was like, oh, what's going on? So it's just like, it's a lot less reliable than I would like to feel secure with.
Sure.
And solar fills that gap. If you have both of them, then it just really fills the gap.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen the new GoSun electric?
Yeah.
They sent it to me. I haven't done a review on it yet.
Nice. The Fusion or the one with the heating element under the tray? Yes.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned though, because they haven't answered my email on if you can use that heating element in addition to the sun, because they say that it gets 350 degrees with the electric version, and then the Sport, but as its old tray in the sun, full sun, gets up to 550.
Oh wow, yeah.
So my question is, if that plasticky looking electric heater underneath the tray is only meant to go up to 350, I want to know if it's going to be off-putting stuff in my food.
Oh yeah.
And
yes.
and so I figure basically I don't have that much room. I'm wondering if I could just use the electric tray, ditch the old tray, and use the electric tray for sunlight, and then plug it in when it's needed. But if it's going to be melting or off-gassing something at 550 degrees, then I don't want to try to do that.
I'm going to guess that it's not a problem because it's built in to the tray that you put in and can just use the sun is the intention. And
that's what I haven't heard. It hasn't been specific on their website.
Okay.
They haven't said or answered my email on whether you can use that tray in open sunlight.
Yeah.
Because it gets 200 degrees hotter.
Yeah. It should.
That's pretty significant.
200
200
I've had
degrees.
the Fusion and I've used it without. I almost never.
Oh, does that have the?
That's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I was
That's what I was
actually
wondering.
pleased
Thank
that
you.
they went to that because Dave Chalker and a few others have said, if you're going to make a new cooker, try to make it a hybrid where it can use both the plug-in and or the sun. So because you have two. I live in Minnesota. The variety weather belt, I imagine Oregon isn't much different. Where
It's starting to get overcast in the fall, yeah. And the winter time is not very good for solar.
And in Minnesota, we could have a week of sun or a week of clouds, or cloud, sun, cloud, sun. I mean, there's just no predictability. Friends and relatives in Albuquerque, where literally I harassed them because they should be cooking every day because they can.
Right.
They just never get to it, or
haven't made a habit yet.
Yeah. But so you have the GoSun, which one? The Sport, and you have the Go?
I have this GoSun Sport right under here, and no, I was looking at the Go because the Sport is just it's 2 meals large.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty small. Like it's a full 2 meals for me.
Sure.
And that's good in the winter time because I can just shove the tray back in there and eat the leftovers the next day. But in the summertime, I have to it's harder to get the tube to cool down by the time I'm done with my half portion to put this back in, and then it reheats it. He heats it up, and it just it does not. It doesn't preserve your leftovers. It actually makes them worse.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm thinking that the Go is smaller, and it would be more portable not only for my wagon, but I also am double using my wagon to haul around my pack boxes for my Ram in case we're at a farm that has BLM, forest up behind it, and we want to go graze up there, or if crap hits the fan or something like that, and the roads aren't safe enough, we can just leave the wagon at a farm front and take the pack boxes to the next farm.
Yeah.
So the sport is what I'm looking at, and it also looks like it. The thing I don't like about this GoSun, the main thing that I've reported on is that I store it without the I store the handle over there, but the tray, when you open this up, the tray is right on the edge, and so when your stuff drips out, your oily stuff drips out, it gets onto the reflector, and then it runs this way, and so I've thought about cutting out like a little section just there so it falls out, but I noticed that the Go already extends the tube past the zipper even. So because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my god, that's gonna like pool stuff into that fabricy stuff that's around the reflector. And but then I started noticing from watching videos that when people pull that thing out, the little bit of liquid actually doesn't go in there, it falls out. And I think that's a smarter design because the main problem with these, I use these more frequently and for longer time than anyone that I've seen on the internet or like that's on YouTube. And the problem that I haven't heard anyone report on is that these reflectors are made reflective with a nano spray, like particulate, that it washes off. Yeah. You can actually take a tissue on a brand new one, and you can just spit or put a little bit of water and rub toilet paper on there or something like that, and it comes off. You can see silver on there. Wow. And so I don't use any detergents, because the first one that I got, I was wiping with a nice soft lens cleaner, but with soap and water. It rubbed off within a couple months of using it every day and washing it weekly. Yep. Yeah, and it started like pitting. After I washed off that layer, I guess I think these are aluminum. Yeah. They're aluminum, and I found out that aluminum oxidizes itself.
Oh, yeah. So just
started pitting.
Version of rust. It's basically all
Yeah, I didn't know that existed, and it made it non-reflective. Oh, wow. And so at a certain point, it actually cuts off, and it actually becomes frustrating to try to use it. Yeah. And so the next one that I got, I tried just spraying it down with my pressure sprayer, and only in the direction of the end of the tube, so that I'm not like unnecessarily pushing oil into the clean spots of the frame. And I only got about a year or two out of it before it started pitting too. Oh man! Off of not using any detergent and not using any abrasive, just water pressure. And so then I got a little glass cutting tool, $5, that has a little roller cutter, and you use a ruler, and you can cut mirror, and then it snaps off and along the line that you perforated. Sure. And so my next experiment is to cut 1-inch strips or so of mirror, lightweight mirror, and then get 1-inch wide foam, double back foam sticky tape. Sure. And put the sticky tape across, and so that the 1-inch strips will be able to fit the contour. Sure. Oh, there you go. And then it also actually fill in this, because I feel like that's actually a wasted space right here that could be reflected. Even this right here, and I'm sure like every little square inch of reflector helps. Yeah. That's the thing. I'm a little concerned about the GoSun Go. Noticeably has a smaller reflector to tube ratio, and I noticed that the Fusion and the bigger ones also have a smaller ratio than this. Sure. And I think that's why this is rated at 550 degrees and the other ones aren't rated as getting as hot. And I think it's the perfect diameter, because it when you get into, I've tried some of the bigger tubes off Amazon. And like there was like a 5-inch tube or something like that. I got the biggest one like 8 years ago or so, and it took so long to warm up the center of food, because the heating elements are on the perimeter, and so it takes longer to infiltrate the inside. And I think that tube is the maximum girth for maximum efficiency. Sure. And so I'm wondering whether the GoSun Go being smaller might not actually, if I took that Go and I lined it with mirror on the inside to where it was not, I mean, there's a bunch of fabric space around their reflector that's wasted. It could be a reflector, and if I put that in there, then I think that that the GoSun Go would actually be the most efficient.
Sure.
And lightweight and portable.
Yeah.
And the reflectors being so small, enlarging them with the mirror on the lining the mirror on the inside would also make it to where you wouldn't have to
right.
turn it with the sun
Yeah.
as frequently, because that higher reflector to tube size ratio really allows for you to just set it out, point at the sun, and not even have to worry about moving it once, because it's extended past the tube ends, and I mean the end of the solar tube isn't even usable anyway.
Right.
Both ends, because the other end is clear.
Yeah.
So it's extended out quite a number of inches that allows for the angle of the sun to move and it still reflect and hit.
Yeah.
So I want to try that Go and expand its possibilities.
Yeah.
For me, all the box cookers just don't heat up fast enough. They're not portable enough compared to these. Even the shallow dish parabolas, I tried a couple of those. They all suck too. The deep dish is bee's knees, and these tubes, these solar evacuated tubes, are just, they've spoiled me.
Sure.
And I'm really interested in trying to make this DATS.
Yeah. Double angled.
What does it stand for?
Double angled something sided.
It's a deep dish. It's a
Three-sided?
DIY deep dish.
Yeah.
And it's stable. It's a lot more stable because it's on the ground rather than hoisted up like the Simplicity, which I can't put my 2-gallon stock pot to make cheese on a Simplicity. I mean, I can, but it's like super sketchy. If it's windy at all, it's all like rocking.
Yeah.
And that thing's really strong, but it's not made to put 2-gallon stock pot on. I think that Simplicity is perfect for bringing places to cook for portability, but to be your sole solar cooker, and to be opening it and closing it every day, is not quite. If I had never seen the GoSun, I would think that was the bee's knees. But this is like, you open it, you set it down, and it's so much simpler.
Where do you see, I mean, your future? I always say, what do you see the future of solar and cooking? But I mean, you have a very direct path to what you're trying to achieve here. I guess that would be the question, for anyone else that wants to hit the road, and be home free like this. What would you suggest? Maybe like if you have mistakes you've made that you'd like to share, that you fixed,
Oh, well, finding farms first. Like I went about this in the completely wrong order because I didn't plan on doing this. I don't know if you know the story, but I was part of a small group in Ashland, Oregon that was meeting to try to rewrite to create urban livestocking rules so that we would be allowed to have livestock and have community sufficiency. But I was just interested in making sure that the goats were included. Dairy goats were included and allowed in backyards. And once that law was enacted in Ashland, I started, telling everyone about all my friends that had houses and yards. Hey, before crap is finished, you get goats. Like, it's the most efficient way to convert into actual calories. Not just vitamins like a garden usually creates. And so after like 6 months, no one in Ashland had gotten any goats. There was only like the 2 people that already had goats that were living on the perimeter. They weren't even living. There was no one that I knew living in town that had goats, even though 6 months went by. Everyone was capable of having their own dairy goats, and they weren't getting them. And so I started asking people. I was like, well, if I got some off Craigslist, and I did like a goat share program, and moved them around to a new yard once a month, would you guys be interested? And I got 3 friends with yards to say they were interested and commit to the 1 month minimum yarding, and each of them flip-flopped on their agreement. And so I ended up having to walk around with goats trying to hawk this idea to new people. And then after like a week, after like a couple days of me having to I was able to move them to a new yard, but then those people would flip. And then as soon as I went a couple days to a week walking around and having to sleep outside town with my goats like I had been doing with just my dog. I had my dog at the same time. Then I was like, dude, I don't need a yard to share the responsibility and share the milk when I've already learned this curve and I'm getting all the milk.
Yeah.
And so then I just that's and then I end up work trading on farms,
Sure.
And so I think that and then I made the wagon. So what I would do is I would find at least 2 farms, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, and because your animals are going to need to graze at different properties in order to not be supplemented from the artificial economy and be dependent on it. And so I suggest now that people find at least 2 farms to begin with, work trade for them to live, and for produce ideally, and then I would make your wagon, and then I would get your own animals.
Okay. Sure.
Because as soon as you get your own animals, then you can't go to the hardware store to get the things
Right.
for this, and it just becomes exponentially more difficult to do everything.
Sure.
And so if you get all your ducks in a row, so to speak, with the farm location support and the wagon before you get the animals, I imagine it would be so much easier
Yep.
of a learning curve.
Elaborate on, you work to get, what was it, like zoning laws that,
Urban livestocking laws
Yeah.
is what they're called.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were able to get that changed. Was that how long of a process was that?
We only met had to meet like 4 or 5 times, 4 times, something like that. It wasn't very many. And then the group took that what we all agreed on. It was only 10 of us.
Sure.
Took that to the city council and had them approve it. That took I think 2 sessions,
Okay.
2 city council sessions.
Okay. Well, that's the kind of success story I'm glad to share, because give you one example with solar cooking. Susan Regali, I don't know if you were able to catch her episode. She's in Los Angeles, and she has a plot of land that's almost like this. What's the end of with the chicken coop, and then this fence into the road in Los Angeles, in Reseda. And she has a catering company, Savor Solar, and she solar cooks pastries and just really fine dishes.
Cool. What's she making it out of? What?
And one is a Sun Oven Villager, which is this massive. It'll cook 40 loaves of bread at a time.
What'd you call it?
Sun Oven Villager.
I haven't seen that one.
Like there's a Sun Oven box cooker at sunoven.com, and they actually still make them. I was surprised to hear that, but I know someone in Kansas who just ordered one, got one, and she's using it for all sorts of green events. Well, anyway, Susan, she can cater, and the food inspector people.
Solar cooking business is like something that I'm like, why aren't people doing
Exactly.
it? Like I tell everyone about my GoSun. That van that's over there is my property friend's girlfriend, who she's starting a van food truck business. And I told her about it. It's like, dude, these are so efficient. They make them bigger. They make them in arrays. And I was like, I don't understand why no one here is using them.
Well, and if she does, don't tell the authorities. Here's what happened with Susan.
Oh.
With the catering, they left her alone because they're all private events.
Yes.
So it's all just between her and the people, and it's as if the food regulators didn't care if she poisoned, because it was a private thing, a contract thing. Whereas she has a restaurant, the Humble Bee, a vegan restaurant, where she'd love to just cook 100, 200 pastries at a time in the Sun Oven Village, just park it in the parking lot, which has full sun all day long.
Great advertisement too, right?
But they won't let her do that.
Why?
Well, the one reason she mentioned was they said, well, you don't know how to measure like emissions and all that kind of stuff. And she says, there's no emissions. Could you start from the fact that it doesn't do what all these other restaurants with charcoal and wood and everything, they have particulates and
they should be supporting her. I mean, because they're all claiming to be eco and eco supporters.
Yeah. When she's so busy with her catering thing, I said, we really got to get a group together to talk about that, because that is the next move. 2 months ago, my wife and I went to the Consol Foods Solar Cooking Conference in Spain, and on the way there, we visited Le Presage restaurant in Marseille, totally solar energy produced food.
What are they using for?
They're using a big Scheffler reflector, which is about 12 foot by 6 foot parabolic, that kind of actually
deep dish
bends a little bit. Pardon?
Deep dish or?
Shallow, and it basically sends a focal point to a kind of a trough curved reflector that hits a big griddle inside. Right now it's a shipping container that they converted into this cafe, but they just got Marseille to approve building a permanent restaurant with 2 of these Scheffler reflectors, so you can have like 20, 30 tables that they can serve at a time.
Wow.
And then so I asked
It's
him
so
for
cool if restaurants started doing this
man,
all over the
yeah.
place.
And so I had to ask him, what kind of red tape did you run into? So well, there was some bureaucracy, but like with you, he just said, look, we just kept telling him we're going to get this done. You tell us what needs to be changed, and we'll lobby whoever needs to change it. You know, I don't know if it was
you perked their egos.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You just tell us what to do, and we're going to keep working on it. So
That's right.
so you know that we're persistent. We're not going to
Yep.
quit this. And,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I'd also add in an element of guilt shaming for them, because this is something they should be supporting and trying to help
got it.
along.
Yeah.
Don't give us any problems.
Well, and it was really surprising to hear that with Los Angeles, because you think of it as a progressive city, and so where we left it was, I said probably next year we'll set up maybe a forum of Le Presage. There was a restaurant in the Andes in Chile that had set up. It was totally solar. Jamie O'Shea, who's part of Bjorn Korn in New York State, where they used to solar roast coffee with a parabola.
Oh, that's cool.
And,
Coffee.
They switched the panels in because they just had such volume, and the panels had gotten cheap enough, so they put this big barn, and that's where they pop all their corn. But he has a trough reflector in the ground.
Wait, someone's doing solar popcorn?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bjorn Korn, Q-O-R-N.
I'm gonna have to look up so much stuff from our meeting here. Good thing we're filming it so I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so he has a trough reflector in the ground. That's just basically it's not even a parabola. It's just a half circle, and then a stainless steel tube in the middle where he pours coffee beans at the one end, and then just an auger that keeps it spinning. Wow. And because the test one he had was about 8 feet long, as was the tube, and he said that's just to make sure he got the concept right. And then you figure out, like, maybe it's a 20-foot tube, 20-foot reflector, and like there'd be a hole 12 feet in if that's a mild roast, 16 feet in if it's and just keep spinning until.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Auger with a trough in the middle.
Yeah.
That's smart.
And I actually emailed him a few months ago saying, well, I'm going to be out there in October. It'd be really cool if you've gotten that far. And he said they just had moved to another barn and doubled like the production with the others. So he's been so busy with that he hasn't gotten back to the coffee. But meantime, Tom Hallquist is a solar advocate in Wisconsin. And he happened to have a roll of stainless steel, but I think 18 inches wide. Maybe it's got to be at least 12 feet, and so I'm going to try it myself.
To make this auger, for roasting.
Just
coffee
see
beans?
if I can get it going. And even it wouldn't have to be like he's thinking. Well, it has to be a certain speed, and they do that when they have the big spinning ones where they're using gas or whatever to roast coffee beans, and then they test them every 15 minutes or so. And once they're just short of what they need to be, they take them out because they keep roasting. They keep cooking after they're out of the roaster because they've got the 300 degrees of the coffee oil in it roasting away. So if they want a dark roast, they get it to like medium dark and then take it out. And about 5 minutes later, they literally either spray water on it or put it in a freezer to
kind of like putting your boiled eggs in cold water, halting it.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But anyway, so there's also there's all sorts of folks like that. And he showed me the coffee roaster. When I was out there, so Bjorn Korn, Jamie O'Shea.
What's the popcorn? What does the popcorn mechanism look like? Because it would be really cool if, in India, they have popcorn poppers and puffed wheat. I'm really interested in puffing wheat with this. They put it under a really strong flame,
right.
And they turn this thing that is a pressure. It's a pressurized pot, and then after a perfect amount of time, then they open it. It explodes popcorn into their bag.
I've seen a video with that. Yeah,
I could see that being solar adapted, and because of the focal point and everything, the high heat. That'd be cool.
He did point to the kettles, I think, in the video I did with them, but they were down for the day. So I didn't see them in operation. So now, had you originally had this hooked up to a bicycle, and now you have your mule, or how's it?
I first made wagons with the bike pulling, and then I made this design actually so that I could sit up front without this front wall.
Oh, sure.
And I designed it to have ape hanger bars for my knee space, and to have a drift trike hub so that I could pedal with one speed, but then I could coast downhill without having to do that.
Oh, sure.
And then and it was going to be a bicycle ram power hybrid, because if I had him, the yoke is attached to the front fork that I would be steering and pedaling. So having having his halter hooked up to 2 straps that go back to the handlebars.
Sure.
By me turning, it not only would push him in the direction I'm wanting to go by the yoke bars, the solid yoke bars, straight yoke bars, but it would also pull at the side that I'm on his halter that I'm wanting him to turn. So 2 points of communication.
Oh, yeah.
And but then like the last minute, I thought I shouldn't need this because my ram is pulling it all right. Yeah. And then the other thing is I didn't think it would be nearly as safe as me walking next to him.
Sure.
And so I haven't gone that direction. I don't think I'm going to. I think that a ram is perfect for this size wagon if you don't have a whole solar panel set up like a bigger end. Like I have a 600 watt watt hour battery, and this Iceco fridge weighs, golly, it's like 30 pounds or something like that, or 25 pounds unloaded, and so that whole solar setup ends up being like 50 pounds at least extra, and that's just setting it over the weight capacity for a ram to want to pull. And sustainably pull up, any significant incline. Yeah. And so basically the wagon weighs 125 pounds unloaded, and then with all my stuff in it, besides the solar fridge and battery, and panel weighs 5-10 pounds anyway. Yeah. And then the whole thing weighs around 300 pounds, but fully loaded with the solar fridge and that fridge fully loaded, it's pushing 400. Yeah. And that's just too much for my ram. And so I think that this size wagon with fully equipped solar fridge is a perfect size for a donkey to pull. Mm-hmm. But I'm finding out that donkeys they only have 1 speed. They do not like to walk faster than the mopey, Eeyore speed. Yeah. And that might not be so bad if, I mean, it's when you need to go, I mean, like when you need to cross 99 highway or something like that, you got to break in the traffic. Yeah. It's stressful trying to get a donkey to go across because not only do they have 1 speed, but they're stubborn. If you try to make them go faster than they want to, they're going to double down and they're going to stop. I'm just learning that mules are halfway in between a horse and a donkey, and they, for a number of reasons, they are more efficient, but the main reason talking about this is that they have different speeds. They're gated with multiple gates. Yeah, I'm working on a mule, getting a small mule right now. There's 2 of them for sale in Grants Pass. There's certain protocols that draft animals owners have to adhere to for humane treatment sake. Sure. Like you're not supposed to make a draft animal pull a wagon that's more than twice its own weight on flat ground with no headwind, flat hard ground. This is like road, not the grass. Sure. And so my ram weighs 200. He weighed 225 pounds when I weighed him before he had gotten totally fully grown. So he probably weighs at least 250 pounds now. So he can pull a 500-pound wagon easy. He can pull this wagon easy, but that doesn't account. There's no like adjustment for that protocol, that humane treatment protocol for any incline. Right. And all I know is that from my experience is that he loves pulling this thing around on flat ground, but if it starts getting up there, there's an exponential factor where he's like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And so and with the horse packers, pannier boxes, they say that you're not supposed to try to pack more than, I think horses, not any more than 20%. Donkeys are a little bit more strength, have a little bit more strength. And so their rule of thumb is up to 30% or 25%. But there needs to be a corresponding guidelines for the size of animal that's appropriate and safe for a person to manage. Like the first donkey that I got, was almost the size of a mammoth donkey. It was probably like 700 pounds or something like that. And this donkey is like maybe 400 pounds or something like that. And the other donkey, when it bolted once for no reason. And I couldn't physically pull its head to the side. I don't weigh enough. I'm 125, 130 pounds. With all my strength, I could not pull its head to the side to start slowing it down. That's the only way you can get you can command a stop on a bolting equine, and so then I traded that donkey for this smaller donkey, and I'm running into this speed and power issues,
Sure.
inadequacies, and so I think that I went too big, went too small. And now I'm going to go, and I know where the sweet spot is, and I know that it's not with a donkey, it's with a mule. And so that's what I'm looking into now.
I'm going to check these, make sure they're still alive. Well, along those lines though then, so are you jettisoning some things to adjust for the weight, or is it just more getting a larger size animal that can carry what you got?
Do I plan on getting rid of other things?
Yeah.
It's just the solar. The solar is so heavy. Solar battery and the. I'm surprised actually. This battery is by far it's the Alcatel 615 watt hour. A YouTuber, they sent it to a YouTuber for review, and then that YouTuber gave it to his friend, and it sat on he used it for a little while and sat on his property. Unused for a couple years, and then he sent it to me. He was like, "Hey, you need help with solar or anything?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out." And he sent me this battery, and it's the best. Upon researching, it's the best watt hour per pound
No kidding.
battery that I could have been sent. And almost all of the batteries that I've seen are the plugins in the display are all oriented along the side instead of on the end.
Oh yeah.
And my wagon benefits from a battery having the plugins in the display on the end, so that I can file it in, because I don't. If I have one of the wide ones with the display on the side, then I have to put my possessions behind it, and then I have to pull out the thing to get to the possessions behind it. Whereas right now, I literally, my fridge takes up all this space, and my evaporative cooler takes up all this space, and then I have my backup Berkey water filters behind my battery.
Sure.
And then in front of my battery, the space I have is where I put my keep my cords and keep like rechargeable batteries. And so it's just such a blessed coincidence that I was sent that battery.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah. Oh wait, there's tons of stuff that I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
Let me see. Have you Alex Key?
Yeah, he's actually one of the moderators for one of the. In fact, I think he is one of the moderators for the World Network on Facebook. Yeah.
For the what?
The Solar Cookers World Network on Facebook.
That dude. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with his story. I read about him on Fandom, and then I found him on Facebook, I think, and contacted him and befriended him, and messaged him for like back and forth for months.
Sure.
Super cool guy.
Yeah.
And the story, it just needs to be told. He's the one that GoSun did not invent this. They stole this idea, and and some of their wordage and some of their advertisements is claiming that it's their groundbreaking technology, and that they mislead people into thinking that they invented it, when this guy Alex Key, selflessly, not trying to make it a business or anything, he realized that 20 years ago, when they made solar evacuated tubes to heat up water for off-grid living, he thought, well, if it can heat up water this much more efficiently than everything else, then, I mean, it'll be unorthodox, but if we had a tray that was long, you could fit food in it technically. And he supposedly went around to all of these, like, humanitarian meetings on how to feed third world countries the best and all this stuff. And he pitched this idea to all these people for like 10 years. Is what I read, and he told me, and they just kept poo-pooing and belittling him in the same way that everyone has been poo-pooing and belittling all of my inventions. And it's like, so I immediately was like, wow, this guy is like, would understand me better than anyone else, and I would understand him better with this aspect. I'm sure that he has had a lot of frustration around that, and so he'd be really glad to know that I appreciate what he went through, and that other people are going through the same thing, and to persist. His story gave me persistence because after creating the world's smallest survival guide, that's also the world's only community survival guide. And by combining those two, it means that you never have to leave home without it.
Yes.
And so when crap hits the fan, your community is going to stand more of a chance of having community sufficiency. Anyway, a bunch of frustrations with getting these, and this solar evaporative cooler made out of felted coarse wool. A bunch of other inventions in between there that were so frustrating to get out to people that when I read his, I was like, damn, dude, he's been trying to get this idea that's clearly golden.
Yeah.
Clearly, like 1 + 1 = 2. What is wrong with you humanitarians, you know?
Yeah.
And for 10 years, they poo-pooed and belittling him. I'm like, wow, that's like seriously difficult for people's psyche to deal with. And I was just, when I heard that he went through it, I was like, I heard about that like after I had been going through mine for only 5 years.
Yeah.
So it just really gave me like more gas. I was just like, dude, I have no reason to bitch. This dude just like pushed through, and like now we have GoSuns around the world, you know? And
I got to say, I appreciate your pointing out. It's one thing to just have the prepper's guide and store all your extra canned vegetables and water in the basement. It's another thing to actually get to know your community, make sure everyone's on board with it. I was a community organizer in Minneapolis.
it's like herding cats or whatever, right?
Man, yeah, and it's and the number one thing that got things moving was saying, everyone, we don't care if you think someone's the enemy. Like, you know, people, rental owners, they're the enemy. Well, there are a lot of rental owners that said, you know, I bend over backwards for my tenants.
They do.
And, you know, and you got that 1% that gives them all a bad name. So let's get them all to the table. Just tell us what you're up against. Tell us what you can bring as a resource to the community. And all of a sudden, they're working together, and the neighborhood is so much more unified. And I mean, people kid me because I have these 80 cookers in my collection. And then when I set out like 10 or 15 of them for my solar brunches, and they'll say, "Oh, we know when the zombie apocalypse happens, we're going to be here." You know, and I'm going, "Well, you don't have to be. Just get your own cookers and everything."
Yeah, no, that's the whole point. Is no, you're not going to come. Like I'm trying to get you to utilize this time to become more responsible yourself, so that we can work together as a team instead of you sapping off of me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like it is easy to get people to come together.
Yep.
It's harder to get people to take any real step towards contributing to that future community sufficiency.
Yeah.
Because they don't see it's necessary yet, and so therefore they don't have enough motivation to sacrifice going to that concert or whatever and all that stuff. Like, I have no interest at all in going to any festival or any show, or even before I started living this way, I already had like a disinterest in those, what I call lower nature sense gratification, and just entertainment, you know, like lower nature entertainment.
Yeah.
And so herding cats, herding community is difficult.
Well, last year I spent 12 days at the Minnesota State Fair at their eco building, which is really wonderful because they have all the things that you can do for your home to get you off the grid and so forth.
I would love to go to an event like that.
Oh yeah. But at the same time, I have my own sun oven villager. You know, it's not a trailer. It's this huge honking cooker, and then the main personal size or family size cookers as well. And the thing that after the first day, it's bugging me. Everyone going, "Oh, that'd be a great survival tool, or that'd be great for camping." And I'm telling them, it's not just for camping.
It's every day. It's so these things have gotten so efficient that you can literally use them every day.
Yep. And this year I had to skip it because my trip overlapped with it. And I was hoping to get back in time, but I had so many more people that I wanted to talk to. Like today is like the third or fourth to the last day of the fair. It ends on Labor Day, so it's actually almost a week left. But there's no way I could be back in time. And I tried to get someone there to drag the villager because it's almost like a monument. You know, it's not.
Is it on a trailer?
Yeah, and it's about the curve of this right here.
Mm-hmm.
Take that and just turn it upside down in half, and it's got 4 foot by 4 foot window, and then 4 foot by 4 foot reflectors all the way around it with a little wedge reflector in between.
Wow.
And it'll get upwards.
That's
we
huge.
got up to about 375 at the fair, and that's Minnesota. Here you got you're probably the same latitude, But you get down to like Albuquerque, that was at 420, 450.
Oh,
You know.
wow,
And,
that's good for a box cooker because it's so big, huh?
oh yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And it's got one big tray, and then you can set up a whole bunch of little trays, and they say
Oh,
up
got
to, yeah,
multiple layers?
yeah, yeah. You can
Wow.
have multiple trays.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, on any solar cooker.
yeah, yeah. Just Google Sun Oven Villager, and you'll
Yeah,
see.
you could
15
definitely
employees.
run a business out of that.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and that's why it's great. Susan Regali. One reason she isn't just really rushing to lobby to get the regulations changed to go to her cafe is she does her solar catering, and 200, 300 people at a time. It's a good business. She says I'm pretty much the only one, but because I have the Sun Oven Villager, 100 pastries, I don't need an extra pastry chef. And I don't pay for the electricity or the gas or the charcoal or whatever the heck. So anyway,
I bet electricity would be really expensive on
yeah.
or gas, whatever you're using.
Yeah.
If you're running a business, if you're running a food business, having a solar cooker would be now that I'm considering it, would be such a huge save.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Financial save.
Yeah.
I haven't even considered that, but that's another huge reason. Besides the advertisement of it being eco, and
Exactly.
everything, the money savings would be enough motivation in itself to do that.
That's what Pierre-André Aubert, the Le Presage restaurant in Marseille, France, he said when they crunched the numbers, what they were doing for a restaurant that he was actually a chef for, and friends of his that said, how are we going to get off the grid? That alone was enough to invest in all the stuff they have, the container that they converted into a cafe, the big solid cast iron griddle. It's just a square, just like a greasy spoon. With that Scheffler reflector, it actually has about the size of about a 5-gallon pot, maybe 3 that they had there. And because this thing is so powerful, the circle that heats the pot, it's like, what's it called, a Neeld or something? It's a discolored. And so basically you get in there and start cooking and you see exactly where the pot needs to go because the sun's, like a Ray Serino in Olancha, he says the earth will tell you what to do. You're trying to solve a problem. Well, open that door. The door will tell you what to do. So it says, look at what it's doing. It's already telling you that's where the pot goes, and it's set it up for you. So, and then that keeps things boiling all day. That they keep going. Lentils or what have you, and then right to the side of it, it's still hot enough to fry stuff. And then at the very edges, it keeps all the food warm for service.
That's
yeah,
perfect.
so it's a continual operation.
And that's stainless steel. That it's not iron. Cast iron. Cast iron. I can see that.
Cast iron.
That's
I'm
nice.
gonna guess a 1/4 inch. I don't know how thick those things come, but a really good solid thing. And
I was wondering how thick it was. Yeah.
When I was thinking, I'd see like a bulge or a warp or something, but no, it's apparently it's such an even high heat that it's that circle is exactly it. It's brilliant, and they're gonna have 2 of them because when we were there, I interviewed him and. I had one camera set so that over his shoulder was the opening of the cafe where people come in to do their orders and then going to the tables and every 2 minutes another 2 come up or 3 come up and it's starting to get a line and then the line shrinks and then but it was busy.
They actually had traffic. It's not just like a little restaurant with a new idea. It's like it's established and running and it's a legit large business.
Yeah. And then right in the background, he had the elevations and the architect's drawings for the permanent restaurant that he'd just gotten approval. They dug the foundation for and everything. So in April or May, they're going to open up again. I'm trying to figure out how to get on a liner or something because I'm trying to not fly anymore. I mean, I'm just really fed up with how much that is contributing to all of our problems. But I don't know if I have the month or so it would take to arrange to get on a.
I actually don't believe that. Like my motivations for being green are completely different from most people's. I don't believe in man-made global warming. I believe in industrial society global warming. And so, and I think that it's not by just coincidence that that the elite chose that term to plaster everywhere on their news. Man-made is directing the blame at you and me. Instead of the elite's industrial shitstorm that is obviously like there's more shit that is happening with industrial society, pouring shit in the waterways and stuff like that. That's more of a concern than anything that us individuals are doing collectively. Like it's total bullshit. Like they're trying to get us to willingly accept a carbon tax on everything we do. That's the only reason that they're purporting this stuff, because they themselves aren't changing anything, but they're trying to command that we change and we pay carbon taxes, and that we stay climate locked down when they're out on vacations and flying around and stuff like that. So I don't feel, and I don't think that you should feel bad or anyone should feel bad about flying or driving or anything.
I mean, the Buick is not a gas guzzler. It gets pretty good mileage, and I don't feel bad because
Yeah, just don't feel bad, people. Yeah, because the elite don't feel bad, and they're the ones causing all the actual chaos, climate chaos or whatever.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I got more than enough here. This is fun.
Oh, great.
This is great.
Cool stuff.
Okay, well, we'll let you get back to business.
Alrighty. It was nice meeting you.